is that they're not, even in the revision 1 standard. Well, they are actually, because it was already in the revision 0 standard that it should be at byte 37. But I would like to get $1 for every segy file that has it somewhere else. Does this answer your question? Or do you want to add more specific things on this byte swapping? Renee?
Yes, I'm not seeing a response to that yet. So, oh, here we go. Yes, yes, that does answer the question. And now I have a few more questions here. Let's see, one is saying, if say yes to revision 1, then does it overrule what you had put on the previous pane? Here, I will send the question along.
I don't think that that's not really, well, I don't think this is a question. On this pane, you specify a couple of things that, yes, that's what I think is the problem here. So I might just want to try the other one to show you what it is to have wrong data. So let's say we want, oh yeah, the 3D volume wasn't, so post stack. And if I now say all, then you can see it's complete gibberish here. And well, this is actually quite still good. So apparently it looks like this. And this is harder defined. Let's just say you have to hope that you would never have to use this, right? But I think it actually does overrule. I have to look in the code actually. But segy revision 1 is much tighter defined. It really tells me what these things should be and how they should be ordered, the bytes. So if indeed it would probably overrule even what is here. And that is the explanation also why I couldn't get it to show this kind of nonsense. No, it's definitely not, because it was like that, because I didn't overrule this. So I have no explanation why it doesn't show me all kinds of crap, bad stuff at this point in time. But I think it does overrule. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I will see if there's a response coming through, if that answered the question or not. But while I'm waiting on that response, I will go ahead and read the next question to you, which is actually asking a question about reference datum and saying, please guide me. Is it possible to define a seismic reference datum in OpenDetect so that data can be correlated with well logs?
Okay, I can. Let me see what exactly you mean. What you mean is I don't. There can be all kinds of solutions to what you're actually asking. So maybe Arno can join in. Oh, yeah.
This is Arno from DGB Earth Sciences. The seismic reference datum is needed when we correlate wells with volumes. And as a result, it is part of the well's properties that you have to specify when importing well tracks. So maybe, Bert, if you can show the interface. It is an altitude, positive upwards, that you have to provide as an advanced parameter when loading your wells. And this will correspond to the altitude of the time 0 in your seismic volume. So a positive number will have to be noted for a positive altitude above sea level. Yeah. Because so in the well track, if I just remember you need to provide X, Y, Z, and MD, and the Z depth in the well track is the depth subsea, the true vertical depth subsea. So it does not account for the seismic reference datum. That's why we need this reference datum in order to shift further the logs such a way that they will be correctly positioned with the seismic data.
So we solve the problem at the well, not the seismic, because how could you? Would that answer your question?
I believe that's answering the question. I'm not, let's see, yes, he says, yes, thanks a lot. And I have also passed along another question to you, Bert, if you can look in your questions pane.
Yeah. Questions. Well, I have a very small one, and I can't.
Okay.
Really...
Well, I'll read it out loud.
Much better.
Okay. Sanity check value then mentioned at beginning that drops points that exceed dimension by 10 times. Can it be overruled or changed?
It cannot be overruled, and it cannot be changed. As far as so off the top of my head, there is no overrule. There is no change. And I wouldn't know why that would be interesting at all. If you feel at a certain point, okay, I've got lines that really go, then just make your survey a bit larger, because then you can still. And well, that's basically it. So yeah, I could, if there's really a need for this kind of stuff, I can't really imagine why. It's rather easy for me to build something in like that. So please tell me where you would want that for. Maybe you can actually talk. I'm not sure.
I'm not seeing anything being typed in. I will unmute the person if you give me just a moment. Oh, actually, it looks like they can't. They don't have an audio pin typed in, so I guess. Oh, now it just popped up. Okay, you are unmuted if you would like to ask your question aloud.
This is Tracy Stark. I just wondered if you got more wells or more data in that you weren't expecting to begin with, if you could overrule that. And you're saying I could go in and change the dimensions or the coordinates of the survey and everything would be fine? I wouldn't lose what I've already got in?
Yeah, exactly. Well, for strictly 2D surveys, shouldn't be any problem. Okay. If, on the other hand, for example, you would have a 3D survey where you also want to put in 2D data, and you want to go more than 10 times the box away from that, then you can indeed increase the survey size again, but then you would want to keep it, conformable with the survey setup. So you might have to do some thinking about how to actually do it. So that all conforms with this message I'm giving. In 3D survey setup, things are not loose. Things are but you can have cubes that are much smaller, as long as they have the same inline, crossline versus coordinate structure. And that is also one of these things that we are getting sponsored from BG now, is to also import surveys that have different inline, crossline systems and also different angles and those kind of things. And that requires basically doing all kinds of FFTs and interpolations to make them have the same system, because the survey setup is rather holy in OpenDetect. It rules so many things in terms of display and calculations that has to just stay as it is. So yes, I would definitely simply make my survey bigger if that were the case.
And while I'm unmuted, if I have data that has different sample rates, some that's 4, some that's 2 in the same survey, can I handle that?
Answer, yes, absolutely. But Arno can tell much better what is the recommended thing to do. But
yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
The recommended option would be most often to set up the survey default step to be the smallest you're using. So if you have 2 and 4 milliseconds, to set up the survey step out at 2 milliseconds. Nevertheless, there are some attributes for which we have to be very careful. I'm speaking about the frequency filtering, the wavelet extractors that might get problems with it. The safest way is always to have the survey setup that has the same step out as the volume you are using currently at the moment. But for most of the work, visualization, computation, it is got from the input volume, so you're safe.
I could add to that. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only one thing that must be kept in mind in terms of visualizations: on one single slice of the scene, you should not try to display data sets with different step outs, both vertically and horizontally. So you may use as many slices as you want at the same location, but please load one kind of data on each slice.
Arno, could you help me? Is it possible to simply make the survey 2 milliseconds and then copy your 4 milliseconds cube into a 2 milliseconds?
Sure.
Simply, yeah. Because OpenDetect in most cases just always on the fly interpolates with a polynomial interpolation.
Yes, but in order to do it, to more or less record an oversampled volume, you need first of all to set up the survey step to the desired output step out. So let's say 2 because we want to go from 4 to 2 milliseconds. And then you need to go in the copy cube option of the Seismic manager and make a volume subselection where you will decrease the step out from 4 to 2. And then the output volume will have a 2 milliseconds sampling rate.
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that's good.
While you're unmuted. Good.
Yeah.
Okay then, I will remute you. So you can no longer speak. I do have another question that was typed in. If you give me just a moment, I'll read it off. It's regarding creating a 2D survey, and it's asking about the impact of the trace distance. How big or small can the impact of the trace distance, 6, 12.5, 25 meters, etc., be in building a 2D survey?
Okay, that's a rather easy one. The impact is basically on performance when you make 3D horizons out of it. So here's the thing: when we make a 3D horizon out of 2D horizons that you've picked on these lines, we have to make some kind of grid space there, and we choose that number. And that's also in other places where some kind of snapping is required to this grid that the survey